a low price stock that's down there below $1, and it has volatility. People often talk about penny stocks and so on. Now, this isn't a stock that's always been a penny stock. It's actually spent the vast majority of its lifetime priced significantly higher, and it's got an interesting story behind it. One of the things I brought out to talk about in the last week has been UiPath, the ticker PATH. And you can see how it's performed recently here in the chart. Let me put on the daily time frame so you can see a nice string of green at the bottom. See this earnings here, always beating expectations, always. And as you look at these going, you can see it growing. Earnings up to 245, 300, 400, down to 300 again, back up above 400. 423, is that the most they've ever earned in a quarter? Yeah, it is. There was one outlier month in the past, or quarter in the past. Sorry, one outlier quarter in the past where they did very, very well and got close to it. But that's the most they've ever done, ever in their history of the company. Here is the chart though, and as you can see, it's been a bit of a bonfire, right? Bit of a bonfire it's been. Okay, and there's huge volatility in around these zones, and it's just trying to say to people, like, there's people out there who will go on about LivePerson's earnings and the decline that they've seen in the earnings and so on, as they understand it's a company that's in a turnaround phase, and they'll try and think to themselves something like, you know, this massive drop down in price is like directly related to like their earnings and things like that. It has been a big direct correlation, but that the story here is 1-to-1, you know, that it's 1-to-1, and that, you know, that you'd need to see positive earnings coming out before this chart starts to go up the way. And it's just like, it's not 1-to-1. That's not how these things work. It just isn't how these things work. And one of the other bits of context that you can get from looking at a similar company is that actually, you know, despite the fact that these have always been going up, this has been going down, and that there's actually other things that exist in the world. And one of the things that exists in the world is that how things like baskets of stocks work, and that this one could be in a basket along with LPSN. It would be an interesting story to see. If we see one move up, it can affect another. Now, people who are just crypto traders and stuff here will know about this from crypto markets. You know, it's kind of one of your bread and butter jobs as a crypto trader is to understand that there's a correlation between Bitcoin and so on. And you look at these things in detail and accept them. Now, in the stock world, there's often a lot of pushback about that, and they feel like it's manipulation, and they complain about it in actual written letters to the SEC and so on when they see two stocks moving closely together. But crypto traders will be aware of that being kind of normal, and it actually is normal. It's kind of the way it's always worked. And one of the things that people would do is they would look at a company like this and they would say, okay, so this one is actually quite like LivePerson, a similar sort of thing, similar industry, similar customers and so on. And if this started pumping up, it could have a really positive effect on LivePerson stock, where they'd say, well, hey, if this is pumping up, then there's this interest in this company, it'll probably help lift the other up. And it's kind of interesting. And my point in bringing this up and pointing out how they got good earnings isn't to say, oh, look, invest in this dog shit chart because it's got great fundamentals, and I'm talking about earnings like you would, like, you know, that's the sort of a lot of people's YouTube careers are based off of doing that sort of thing. What I actually am saying is that there's this great other chart and it's way cheaper, and if they were in a basket of stocks together and the other one went up because it has fundamental reasons to do so, we're aware of the fundamental reasons why this company could do so, but its earnings are going to be crap, right? And we're aware of that. We're aware its earnings are going to be crap because we've been speaking about this for a long time. We know the process and how the transformation is going to work. There's a transformation happening here. The old board was bad, the new board is good, blah blah blah. That's the story. Their earnings are declining as their old contracts taper off. Their new business is growing really fast. Unfortunately, it's not growing fast enough to outpace the old contracts that are dropping off, but that doesn't really matter because they're focused on growth. And whenever the old ones they've run out of old ones to drop off, their growth will be such that it actually is outpacing the likes of what? Of what? Of what? Of what would you compare a company like this and this string of colors at the bottom to their earnings? What would you compare? What company? What company would I compare that to if earnings started going good for that way? What company would? I know. I heard this guy on the internet called Rocky Outcrop, and he was talking about this other one that you could use for a bit of context, and it was called Path. And he mentioned how this one here has got this really positive story, and they would be then possibly going up in price, and people would say, oh look, this is really related to its earnings, because they are directly related. They would be lagging behind, and they'd be saying, oh look how much better they're doing now, this is going to actually start to get priced in on the stock soon, they're making a profit and they've made more money in earnings, blah blah, so maybe in revenue, so maybe this actually starts to move up and so on. That's what they'd say in advance, because that's where that story exists. It doesn't exist on the LPSN chart. We know it because we've looked at the detail, but they won't know it because they only look at the headlines. And then what happens if the headline information is saying that LPSN's margin on what it's making in its growth trajectory is way bigger than the other one? Then what they do is they look back and they say, well, if this company was doing this good and that company's doing that good now, and this one's outperforming it like that, then it's going to go up way, way higher and so on. And that's why having this idea in our heads in advance, if we see them pumping together, is a good idea, especially if it sustains over a long period of time and we get to make comparisons as a basket moving together, and at the same time see our fundamentals being better than their fundamentals, when right now on the headline figure their ones look better because the boxes are colored green, right? That's the reason they look better. And it's a big enough reason. Like we don't need like massive reasons in the world to make decisions. A string of green boxes is something that makes people make decisions. All right. And that's what trading is. It's making decisions. Okay. Rocky is not a financial advisor. Thanks so much for that advice there for the audience, Jay Hunter. That's correct. He also says kings don't give advice. What a cool guy. They exemplify. Thanks very much. Now, fan him and feed him grapes. You got it. There's somebody who's listening. There's an avid listener. I'll click like on your face, Jay Hunter, for that. That's impressive YouTube channel audience action right there, isn't it, everybody? Okay. Oh. Have I missed anything? Let me just check and see. What will be the soundtrack to the Hell Breaking Loose? Oh, great question. Great question. I don't have an answer for you. I wish I did. There's one for the audience. What will be the soundtrack? Put your suggestions in. This is us coming towards the end of the close of the show, guys, right? We're coming towards the close of the show. We're not there yet, but we're coming towards it. And I want to see a little splurge in the chat box of people telling us what the soundtrack would be as all hell broke loose when it's retail that are beating investors, when institutions have to catch up with retail. What would the soundtrack to that be? What would the soundtrack to that be? And would we look at it? Do cool guys even look at explosions? I've heard that they don't. So maybe we wouldn't even look. We'd just be like looking out the front view the whole time. What else did we miss in the box here? Okay, as much as I don't like giving YouTube money, thanks so much, Donna, for contributing towards the goal. That's very kind of you. We didn't make it, but that was very, very, very kind of you. Appreciated it. And we have another couple of people that did give to the goal as well. Let me just read these. Could you take a look at LPSN? Yes, I did take a look at LPSN, so that's cool. Girtham, Janine, appreciate your generosity with your expertise. Thank you so much. Yeah, cool. So we covered all the requests. So I'm looking for what the soundtrack would be in the chat box. Not got answers in there yet. Okay, so we are, I just wanted to kind of make a couple of quick points about the potential for LPSN to be turning around in terms of the market. And you can see here higher lows, and we can also see higher lows on RSI. And this has got hidden bearish divergence, it says, which did push the prices back down, but we're actually then put in a higher high since. So now this move up is not only not hitting bearish divergence, it's actually starting to change the trend. Is that correct, me saying that on this time frame? Yes, it is. So we put in the higher high, and then we put in the higher low, and that's very good. And I would like to see us be able to push up higher towards one of these numbers, like 230. I'd like to see that bit there, and then and even if that was associated with, well, actually it's too early for that probably on this time frame. This is a weekly chart. Yeah, so even if there was some bearish divergence there, it'd be nice to have this, you know, the maths behind this start to reflect the fact that there's an upward trend, because this area in price here is still not even being registered by the sort of indicators down below mathematically as being in an upward trend yet, because we've just not, well, actually now it is, but possibly. But anyway, the point being here that I want to see this actually be in an upward trend, and there is a nice case to be made about the fact that there is this kind of upward trend in RSI as well, and that if we have to reach up to high numbers like 290 from down at 90 cents and put, you know, more than triple the price of the thing, then you'd need to see high magnitude moves happening over the period of you know, a few weeks. And one of the things that I said in the chat box with recently was in the chat box in the Discord was to do with how last week I'd gone to sort of great lengths in my explanation as to the detail of these lows, and talking about how it could be the case that this comes back down, you know, to where we're seeing it now, and that is it was a little bit early to confirm and say that was the local low then, and that each one of these points, well, like that and where we are now, but also this one, so this one which I'm drawing X's on, and this one, and that we may need to have the X. Okay, because we've got O and X and O there. We might need to have the X still, because this has only, as you can see here, this downward movement, as you see with these, it didn't get to confirm that it was over. Now there's a big distinction between this one here and this one here and this one. There's a big distinction with this, which is that there was a green candle just here, which made it a really good time to talk about how this could actually be the low overall, even if we need to come back up and down. However, it was also it was not concrete. I explained this in the Discord earlier on because somebody asked me to explain the details, so I thought I'd do it on the show as well. And I almost forgot. I wrote in there, I'll say this now before I forget, and I almost forgot to do that now. So in terms of the lows, the lows here, they did have a push back up, and it was like what we've seen at the other lows, which have put in double bottoms, with the second one being higher than the first, higher low, sort of upward slanted double bottom type idea. I mean, you could call that an Eve and Eve if you wanted to, or an Adam and Eve, depending on the shape of them, whatever. And this might not have been doing it, and the reason why is because on the weekly time frame, as you can see, it hasn't necessarily confirmed, and that the kind of the resolution to this was that I says, look, let's really feel, you know, hype at a certain time. If we want to feel hype at a certain time, how about it's like that, and it's like that, or it's like that, or we have one weekly green candle followed by a second weekly green candle, followed by a second weekly green candle. Those are great times to feel hype, as we've seen in these lows recently. And here we have one green candle, and it wasn't followed by a second one, it was followed by a red one and then another red one. So it'd be great over the next couple of weeks if we could get two green candles together and start to feel a bit more positive about the weekly chart and how it looks with a bit of follow through. But with the way that you see, for instance, like I said, I'd also look at other things recently too. I'd be thinking about things like baskets of stocks in similar industries, the other houses further up the street, the more expensive houses, but they're on the same street. And could this one here see a turnaround at these lows following on from great earnings that creates an upward rising tide for similar baskets of stocks? And it might be enough to help give us that straw to break the camel's back, the bearish camel's back. I was going to invert the chart. save those details for next week's show or discuss them in the Discord. There's a really interesting picture right here with this upward area here, which is obviously the lows, because this is an inverted chart. This is the weekly time frame, and we could go into more detail on that on different time frames, but it might be fun to just explore that as a group together in the Discord over time, perhaps. How about that? Because we are doing, you know, we've done pretty good. We've done pretty good in tonight's show so far, haven't we, folks? I think we've done pretty good on tonight's show so far. I think we have. But I need to know what your comments are and how you think that we did in tonight's show. Are we always improving the quality around here? Are you enjoying it? Did you like the thumbnail design? Did I meet and exceed your expectations? Right, that's the thing. I put out a thumbnail there that really kind of set some expectations, and what I wanted to do in this video was to then beat those expectations, and I really hope that I did, because I spent some time planning it. You never know though. You bake a cake, you hope that people like it, and I'm hoping that you liked it, okay? Because I did know you were coming. So I did bake the cake, and I hope to see you again next week. And that is really it from me. As you can see here, I'm actively engaged in the Discord. Even if I don't post in every single room all the time or whatever, I'm actively engaged, and I would highly recommend that people would go along and just kind of, you know, take part in some of the areas of Discord that you might not have been taking part in before. As you can see, there's an awful lot of stuff there, and it's really great. Like, I explained so much stuff, you know. This is us talking about it there, right? That's the Bitcoin over there looking like that. And was it the 4-hour time frame? And you can see why that type of conversation. Oh, you didn't see it. Sorry. This is the chart here, right? So you can see in the Discord, like, how the timing wise of having this sort of conversation is really often very intentional and very, 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 very good. And that's just one of the rooms, you know, and you try your hardest to contribute as much as you can across all the various different places. But what you'll find is an amazing post here by Jamie talking about price discovery, for instance, and they're coaching people all the time. Here's just a thread that a couple of guys are talking with each other, for instance, and there's plenty of that in there too. Really recommend that people go and just actually dive in there and get involved a bit more than they have been recently, because they really should. A lot of them just like to chill out over here in the LPSN free side. And that is the crack. If you're just tuning into the show, by the way, and met me for the first time, please do put a comment down below. I'd love to hear from people who've met for the first time today, right? If that's you and you happen to be watching right now, do let me know. And also as well, if I'm sitting here in your living room right now and that's me touching your TV screen edges, let me know if you're watching in your living room. Hi, beautiful family, it's love to see you. Oh, your family is so happy and wonderful, and hi everybody. Oh, look at you, you've got such a cute wee face on you. Cool. Thanks folks, it's been a pleasure. I'll catch you again next time. We've got people chatting in the Discord there, still watching the show. Awesome as always. I was wondering if anybody would get their shout out there. Well done to Homero for getting the shout out. See you all in Discord, folks.